3 games in. And yeah, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Valentine's Day. Well, hey, Chet, we have a couple great guests tonight. Longtime hockey and Flyers beat writer Sam Carchidi. Sam, can't wait to hear from him because he's got to be as surprised about the Flyers as we are. And J.G. Taylor Spink award winner, Baseball Hall of Fame writer Jayson Stark joins us in the second half to talk Phillies baseball.
Yeah, we got a good one for you, Bill. And that first guest is ready to roll, so let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's welcome hockey guru Sam Carchidi back to talk some Flyers hockey. Sam, welcome.
Hi, Bill. Hi, Chet. Good to see you guys tonight.
You too.
Hey, Sam, no offense, but this is pretty sad that you guys are my Valentine's Day date. Sorry about that.
Yeah. We postponed our Valentine's Day till tomorrow, so all good. All good.
There you go.
There you go. It'll be less crowded tomorrow. That's good.
There you go.
All right, Sam, let's talk Flyers. I mean, other than that 5-game skid right before the All-Star break, they've been extremely impressive this season. What do you think have been the keys to their big improvement from a year ago?
I think a lot of it is mindset, Chet, to be honest with you. I mean, this team, they've made some changes, and I think the young guys have added some good new young blood to the team. And as a result, you have players playing for their jobs, playing for lineup spots. They know, if I don't do the job tonight, a guy like Bobby Brink, who is now with the Phantoms, he could be coming in or another young guy could be coming in. And it's been a good rotation. I give a lot of credit to John Tortorella. This team on paper is not a playoff team. They've overachieved, but more power to them. I mean, it's not very often they get outworked in games, and they're fun to watch because of that. And, case in point, the last game against the Coyotes, they didn't have their A game for all 60 minutes, but they play hard, especially in the second half of that game, and they turned it their way. And they're getting good defense. You look at it, and they're third place. They're in a playoff spot right now, and their power play is awful. I mean, if their power play had been clicking, this team might be in first place, believe it or not. Yeah. I mean, they're 31st in the league. They're clicking at about 13%, and their PK, on the other hand, has been tremendous. You look at the PK; they're second in the league, and credit to the guys on there. Scott Lawton has done a great job, and it's just fascinating to me that the trade deadline is less than a month away, and you wonder how Danny Briere is going to go. All indications are he's going to make trades to acquire draft picks, but he's probably going to. There's reason for him to at least pause now, anyway,
sure.
And maybe try to pick up somebody that's going to help them not only this year but in the long run. And because this is a surprise. I don't think anybody expected them to be in the playoff hunt right now.
Well, Sam, you all answered my first question, I think, already. But I was going to say to you, have you ever seen a team that is so bad in special teams on one end and so good on the other? And I think they almost have as many shorthanded goals as they have power play goals. They score shorthanded, it seems like, almost every night.
Yeah, it's been amazing. They call it the power kill because they score so many goals off of it, Bill, as you know, and it's been really fun to watch, and they're very aggressive on the penalty kill, and they look very discombobulated on the power play. And do they try to make a trade and get somebody that's going to help out, or maybe just with time, somebody like a Tyson Forster will turn into a force on the power play. Owen Tippett certainly has a great shot. They have some good weapons, and it's just a little puzzling right now that they are so poor. Their entries have been poor, and as I said, they just look out of whack. And we'll see. But if they can make some strides and maybe get that percentage from 13% up to 16, 17%, it's going to be even more fun to watch this team. And as you mentioned, Bill, they have a tough test tomorrow. On Thursday, they play Toronto, a team that's very good on the power play. But, all bets are off. I mean, on paper, it looks like Toronto is the better team, the much better team. The Flyers have more points than Toronto. I mean, go figure. I mean, as I said, John Tortorella deserves a lot of credit. There's no question about it, and he's got them playing hard. But you wonder the Carter Hart effect, how that's going to affect them too. I personally feel it's going to cripple them because Urson's played so well, but you just wonder not having a fallback like Carter Hart. Carter Hart, of course, was the number one guy, and you just wonder if they can do it with Cal Peterson as the fallback. Peterson's had a checkered past. He's played pretty well lately for the Flyers, and these guys are answering the critics. I'll tell you, more power to them. But again, they're still, to me, it would still be a very big surprise if they made the playoffs. But stranger things have happened.
Hey, Sam, Travis Konecny was an all-star. Owen Tippett played his way to a nice, long, new contract. Besides those two guys, anybody stand out in your mind with their play so far this season? Who has surprised you?
Sanheim was a take charge guy for a lot of the first half of the season, and he's kind of tapered off a little bit, but he's been a pleasant surprise, I think, for most of the year. Morgan Frost has really come on lately. And, he's been, if you look at him driving play and some of the statistics other than goals for and assists for, he's been really driving play. So he's been a pleasant surprise. And, I think Sam Urson, you could make a case that Sam Urson has been their MVP. This kid's a rookie. He's got a 2.49 goals against average. And the way he's conducted himself, he had a rough time the last 4 games before the All-Star break. And by that time, we knew that Carter Hart was going to be out for a long time. And I thought right then that was maybe an indication that he was rattled a little bit and the spotlight may be too much. But he's played great. They've won 4 in a row. He's played great since the All-Star break ended. Maybe he just needed a breather. But, he's been a big surprise. I mean, he's played like a veteran, and people forget this. He's still a rookie, but they've gotten some contributions from guys like Zamula, quiet contributions. I think Drysdale's been a good addition for them on defense. I like the way, he looks like a guy that's really going to help the power play. We talked about how bad the power play is, but Drysdale, especially last game, if you look at some of his moves, keeping the puck in and setting up things, they were 0 for 8 on the power play. But, they were robbed a few times. So it's a little misleading. So Drysdale, to me, looks like he could be a guy that's going to drive this power play or quarterback. And Cam York has been up and down on the power play. But, these guys are young. You expect that. And but all in all, it's been a team effort. Couturier has done a good job. Atkinson's been a disappointment. But Forster has come on lately before his injury. I think he's been a pleasant surprise. He looks like he's coming into his own. Could be a guy scores 15, 16 goals as a rookie. And, a quality rookie year for him. And I think he'll grow. I think he'll be a regular 25-goal scorer down the road. So, a lot of positives to look at, especially with the young guys.
Sam, you mentioned Morgan Frost. He's a guy that's really interesting to me. When they drafted him, he was a prolific scorer. When they drafted him, he struggled a bit along the way. You don't know if he's in John Tortorella's doghouse half the time. He's been scratched a lot. Or does Tortorella see something in the kid that the kid's not giving him? And right now, as you said, he's probably playing the best hockey of his career. Is he a guy that you maybe they just need to have patience with? He's going to only get better? Or is he a guy that you try to move to get something for, and then he turns out being a star in his league?
Yeah, I wrote this for Philly Hockey Now, I guess maybe 2 weeks ago, that I would be very careful. I mean, if you're overwhelmed in a trade, of course, then you do it. But if you're not overwhelmed, I'd keep Morgan Frost. I mean, we've seen it with Justin Williams and several other, Patrick Sharp, and several other guys they gave up on too soon. Some of that was Ken Hitchcock's impatience. He liked veterans. And, I think Tortorella had that reputation that he's a veteran coach, but he's done fine with the young guys. They've developed under him. So I don't think, even though he and Morgan Frost have not seen eye to eye all the time, I think he's kind of grown on Torts. And Torts admitted that, when he benched Morgan Frost, he admitted that he was surprised Morgan Frost came into his office and said, "Hey, I want to know what's going on. I feel like I'm doing a good enough job, and I should be out there and on and on." I don't know exactly what he said, but that was the gist of it. And since then, Morgan Frost has come into his own. So good on him for sticking up for himself. And Torts has said that he liked that. I think he wanted that to happen. And maybe the benching lit a fuse. And since then, Morgan Frost has producing very well at his highest clip of the season. So to answer your question, Bill, I would, unless I'm overwhelmed, I think Morgan Frost is the kind of guy you build your team around. I don't think he's a top line center, maybe not even a second line center, but can be a very, very good third line center, and homegrown. And I really like Frost. I like his game. He gives the Flyers creativity, and they didn't have a lot of that on the team. And and they now have some creative players. They have more speed this year than we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Tippett certainly gives them a lot of speed. Drysdale has given them speed. Morgan Frost can turn it on. So, Konechny has speed. This is a team that has created more chances off the rush than any team in the NHL this year. And, that speaks volume of where this team, was last year and where they are now. They haven't scored all the time off the rush, but they're getting more scoring opportunities off the rush. And that's what makes them a real exciting team and a successful team as well.
Sam, we could talk a lot more about the current Flyers, but we've got to get to two other topics before we let you go. One of them, you told us the last time you were on with us, about this new series that you're working on, a potential TV series called Bullies. What is the status of that? Where do things stand?
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning it. We're having a great time doing it. Jeff Hare, who is originally from Roxbury, he's been a movie maker, and he's situated in LA now, but he's a Philly guy at heart, and we're the creators of this series. We have our book is done. We have a book that is going to come out in 2025 on the Bullies, and where they are now compared to when they won the Cup, and reflections that nobody's really heard about. We have 1,000 pages of transcripts and from talking to all the players and people connected with the team. We've had a ball doing it, and they're just great, down to earth people. I can't say enough about them. And we have 2 episodes written, and we're doing a sizzle, which is basically a trailer, fancy way of saying a trailer for the series, which is going to be a 2-year series, 8 episodes per year. And once the sizzle is done, Susan Ryan, I don't know if you remember Ron Ryan. Ron Ryan was the Flyers president in the early 2000s. Susan Ryan is his daughter, and she's an accomplished actress, and she works behind the scenes now, and she's very excited. She's part of our team now, and once we get the sizzle done, she and some others will take the 2 episodes we have written. When I say episodes, they're just the written episodes. They're not filmed or anything. Mm-hmm. And she'll take that and the sizzle to Netflix and HBO and the other networks, and we're still writing other episodes in it. But it's not a documentary. You guys probably remember the great documentary HBO did probably about 12 years ago, or maybe even longer, on the Broad Street Bullies, and that was strictly a documentary. Ours is a TV drama. And we've learned so much that hasn't been made public. We've learned so much behind the scenes stuff. And we want people who watch this series to like it, even if they're not hockey fans. They're going to be intrigued by the relationships the players have off the ice, and their family lives and the ups and downs. And it's some powerful stuff, too. I don't want to give anything away, but some really powerful stuff. that some of those guys had to overcome to get to where they were in 74 and 75. Our story takes place from 67, their inception, and it ends in 76 when they lost to Montreal and their dynasty ended. Their 2-year run as Stanley Cup champions ended. But if you remember, the people did not want to leave the Spectrum because they stood up and applauded. And it was like a thank you for this 3-year run of excellence. And they didn't want to leave. And so people say, why didn't you just end the series in 75 when they beat Buffalo, won the Cup? But 76, it teaches us a lot of lessons. Flyers had a lot of injuries that maybe if their players were healthy, they might have won in 76. Big guys like Bernie Perrant, Rick McLeish, Gary Dornhofer were missing. But 76, we want to include 76 because it was a special year because they beat the Russians in a game that, was amazing for a lot of different reasons. The Cold War was going on. It was the height of the Cold War. And Philly wasn't just playing for Philly. It was playing for the entire NHL. And all of a sudden, the NHL, which despised the Flyers, despised the way they played, all of a sudden, they were on the Flyers side. You're playing for all of North America. And I won't give too much away, but I will say some of the Flyers actually told Clarence Campbell to leave the locker room. He was the NHL president at the time. And before that game, he wanted to make a speech, and they told him to leave the room. One player said, "You're a hypocrite. Get out of here." That kind of thing.
Great.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's just really a fascinating story. It's a fascinating run. Up until Vegas won, the Flyers, it took them only 7 years. That was the fastest time a team had won a cup since their inception. Vegas won it in 6 years last year. So just quite an accomplishment. If you remember, Philadelphia at that time was the city of losers. The Sixers were coming off a nine-win season, 9-73. Yeah. The Eagles were in last place again. The Phillies were in last place again. They were the city of losers, and the Flyers just lifted the city on their backs. And we had 2 million people at the 74 parade, 2.3 million. The 75 parade, I'm sorry. So, it's just amazing. And their first parade drew 20 people when they were introduced in 67.
Right.
Philadelphia didn't know how. And that's part of our story, too. I guess the bottom line is one of the main things we want to get across is the love of story, the love affair between the Philadelphia fans and the Philadelphia Flyers, and all the obstacles the Flyers had to overcome to get to where they were. So we're really excited about it, and I appreciate you mentioning it.
Can't wait to see it.
Last thing from me, and then Bill can do a follow-up if he wants. We got to mention this. You're involved heavily with this event. It's a celebrity bartending event. Tell us all about it and what it's for.
Yeah, February 27th, I'll be at the at the restaurant. Excuse me, I lost my voice there. The Osteria 545, tremendous Italian restaurant. If you like Italian food, please come out. There it is on the screen. And it's the best Italian food in South Jersey. And proceeds are going to help the Adam Talaferro Foundation. I'm on the board of directors of the Adam Talaferro Foundation. We've raised over $2 million for athletes who have suffered spinal injuries. For those who don't know, Adam Talaferro was a great football player at Eastern High School in South Jersey. And he was going to be a star. I think he would have been playing in the NFL. There's no question in my mind. He went to Penn State and was injured making a tackle, and his career ended. But, he's very successful. He was paralyzed, fought his way back, and 3 months later, he was told by doctors he would never walk again. In fact, 3 different doctors at 3 different hospitals told him that. And 3 months later, he walked out of McGee Hospital. He still walks with a pronounced limp, and he has some problems with his hand. He can't really open all the way because of nerve damage, but he's became a lawyer. It's such an unbelievable story. Became a lawyer and now works for a drug company, married, has 2 gorgeous kids, and his legacy, he's touching more people now than he probably would have if he made it to the NFL. His legacy is the Adam Talaferro Foundation, and it's a great cause. So come out and support it. It's 6 to 8, and I'll be specializing in some limoncello mojitos if you like them. And like I said, it's a great cause and a great Italian restaurant.
And of all those things you said about Adam, he's a better person than all those things.
Yeah, no
Top-notch.
question about it. He is the best. He just so sincere and kind-hearted and does so much for people. And the foundation, we put elevators and houses for people who are in wheelchairs, and we've gotten vans that are wheelchair accessible for them, and we've done a lot of good things. And this night will help us raise some money for just a wonderful cause. I have to throw out Tom Lycavone's name. He's the president of the Adam Talaferro Foundation, former high school coach in New Jersey, and he just does a remarkable job. So come out that night, put it on your calendar, and I'd love to serve you that night.
There you go. Hey, Sam, before we let you go, where can the viewers find your work, your social media platforms, the things you have going on, and follow what you're doing?
Yeah, thank you, Bill. You can reach me at Broad Street Bull, and we're going to put out a pretty big campaign, social media campaign for bullies. That's probably going to start next week. So, next time I'm on, or you can even look for it on my Broad Street Bull Twitter, but we're going to have a lot of information on that. And I appreciate you mentioning it. And you can reach me also if you have any questions, SAM CARCHIDI 55 and at gmail.com, and be happy to answer any questions. But we're really going to promote this endeavor, this Bullies TV series. So we're excited about that. That should be up sometime next week.
Can't wait. When will the book be out? You said the show in 25?
Actually, the book originally was going to come out in 2024. But now, since the series probably won't come out until 2025, they want it to come out closer to then. So sometime in 2025, I'm guessing close to the start of hockey season, October probably of 2025. And Triumph Books is the publisher. They're the #1 publisher of sports books in the United States. And so we're excited about that too.
Fantastic. Well, Sam, as always, thanks for taking the time to join us. Good stuff. We could talk hockey all night.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me, Bill. Thanks, Chet.
All right.
Thanks, Sam. See ya.
All right, Chet, let's give a shout out to all the shows at the Edge of Philly Sports Network this week. The gang, as always, has all the bases covered. You can catch all the action on www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can also find our show on the Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel. Please help us out. Hit those subscribe, follow, like buttons, and as always, share with your family and friends. Don't forget to subscribe to the Edge of Philly Sports weekly newsletter. Sign up for free. You'll receive the EOP weekly review in your email every Friday morning. And Chet, hey, it's a good time of year. Spring is almost here. What's going on at the Irish Rover Station House?
Always plenty at the Irish Rover, Bill. They got a lot of things happening. As you know by now, they have Thursday through Sunday dinner specials, and check out what they got going on this week. Some tasty ones, the meatballs, the bruschetta, oven roasted brie. But I love the Killer Burger Thursdays, and that Aloha Burger is calling out to me. Lettuce, tomato, onion, pepper, jack cheese, teriyaki, grilled pineapple. Yum. That's at the Irish Rover. Oh, they have Quizzo every Wednesday evening. Well, Valentine's Day may be just about over on this particular Wednesday evening, but this Saturday, the 17th, the Rover is celebrating Galentine's Day with a party, a guaranteed fun night out for all the gals with all sorts of drink specials, as you can see here. Very, very cool, I think. It's all happening at the Rover, located on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne, and you can get all the details at their website, that, of course, IrishRoverStationHouse.com.
It's me, Jackie Bam Bam from 93.3 WMMR, Philly Pressbox Radio. Chet, Bill, what are you doing? It's me, Jackie Bam Bam. Hey, Chet, Bill, I love you. All the best. Bye.
Always good to have Jackie Bam Bam with us.
I wanted to mention about Jackie Bam Bam just this past weekend. He was inducted into the Mummers Hall of Fame.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that? Good for him.
Yeah, because he's won the Best Costume Award like 7 times. And
Daily.
He's in the Hall of Fame. Good for Jackie.
Hey, Chet, it's always a big day for me here in Florida with pitchers and catchers report to get spring training started. Today was that day as the Phillies reported to Clearwater. There is always a buzz in the air. I've already seen people saying, this is the year. This is the year. They don't even have their cleats tied up yet.
Yeah, and that's in probably a lot of different, spots in Florida and Arizona. This is the year. This is the year. Talk to us in July, then we'll see.
Right.
But yeah, it's always a fun time, especially when you do think your team has a chance to go somewhere, as is the case with the Phillies, because they came so close the last couple of years. I know some people think they still need to do more, and I think there still will be some little moves here and there, but they won 90 games last year, and they should be, right around that total again this year, hopefully getting them back into the playoffs. So a lot of anticipation about what lies ahead for the Phils.
Yeah, and they continue to tinker with that pitching staff a little bit in the last week or so. They're adding little pieces. I don't know that those guys are all going to make the roster, how it's going to play out, but the last few roster spots might get interesting. And, of course, to me, the big thing is who's the closer?
Yeah, I haven't studied the names yet, but for now it seems like they're going to do the bullpen by committee thing again this year, which they did for parts of last year. It's not the worst thing in the world, I think Dave Dombrowski,
it is if you don't win in the end.
I think Dombrowski may still have another move on that front. We'll see, and hopefully he'll bring in another bat to come off the bench because they could sorely need that, especially some guy who can play the outfield.
Yeah, we'll see. Won't be long. Hey, you had a chance to visit with J.G. Taylor Spink Award Baseball Hall of Fame writer Jayson Stark about the Phillies and the upcoming 2024 season. Tell us how it went.
Well, I have to admit, I somehow snagged Jayson 3 times for our show back in 2015 through 17, but he's gotten busier and busier in the years since, and I've had a tough time getting him back for a 4th time, but I think I finally wore him down last week and got him back on the show. He made some time for me, and first time since he got the Hall of Fame status with his name. So as you'd expect, he was terrific and lots of fun to talk to. And here is our chat. With pitchers and catchers reporting for work in Clearwater and elsewhere, it's a great time to talk a little baseball, and I'll do that with one of the very best, a Hall of Fame baseball writer, in fact, Jayson Stark. Jayson, welcome.
Chet, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hey, you've been covering baseball a long time, but do you still get more energized, come mid-February, knowing that the sport that you love and cover is starting up once again?
Yeah. You know what I always think when that confetti rains down on top of the Super Bowl champs? It's now baseball season, and my blood starts flowing differently. I can't explain it, but that's how life works for me.
I hear you. Hey, let's talk Phillies. They came within 1 NLCS win of a 2nd straight trip to the World Series. And unless they make another move this spring, they're essentially running it back with the same group that ended last year. Should they have done more? Might they still do something between now and early April?
I think you'll see a couple small moves. I know there's all these rumors about them being the team that rescues Scott Boras on somebody like Cody Bellinger or Jordan Montgomery. I honestly don't see that unless something completely shocking develops. But I do think you'll see them add outfield depth and pitching depth. Other than that, you're exactly right. This is probably the quietest offseason in the history of Dave Dombrowski, which is saying something. And I actually asked Dave about this earlier in the winter. Is it a good idea to run it back? Because that's not been his history. And he basically said every team's different. And when I look at this team, I think we were good enough to win. Like privately, they think they were going to win the World Series if they just find a way to win one more game against the Diamondbacks. And then we're perceiving all of this differently. And then, he pointed out all the ways they could actually be better with the same group, starting with full season of a guy named Bryce Harper, which is a scary thing to contemplate. And then growth among young players, growth among the Alec Bohm, Brandon Marsh, Bryson Stott group, Orion Kirkring have a lot of excitement about. That's his thinking. I personally would not do that. I always feel like it's a good idea to inject new energy into the group. Guys who are hungry, who haven't been there and done that. But again, Dave's feeling is we haven't done it. We've gotten to the World Series 2 years ago, didn't win it. Thought we were going to get there last year, didn't win it. He thinks the hunger of the group is stronger than ever. So I think that explains it. Nevertheless, I would not have done this.
Well, they did retain Aaron Nola, and now Zach Wheeler is entering the last year of his original 5-year Phillies deal. The Phils do want to keep him, but he's 33 and reportedly wants some big money. So how do you see this playing out?
I'd be really surprised if they don't get this done this winter. I did not feel that way about Aaron Nola, but I do think that Zach Wheeler's different. You just said it. He's older. He's several years older than Aaron, and he's tested the market. He's cashed in. He's extremely comfortable with the Phillies from every standpoint, from geography to family to comfort level with the whole pitching group. He's only gotten better here. He's really close to the pitching coach. He's really close to Aaron Nola. I think everybody understands what it'll take. It'll be a really high number per year. It won't be a lot of years because of his age. And I think that really fits exactly the way Dave Dombrowski's thinking and John Middleton's thinking.
The center field job is Johan Rojas's to lose. He reportedly worked hard over the winter, put on a little muscle. Does he have a decent upside, do you think?
Well, he's a spectacular defender. He is so much fun to watch, just roam around center field, isn't he? The question is the offense. And like, I'll be honest, I'll kind of believe it when I see it. He's a really talented kid. When he was promoted, he was only supposed to be up in the big leagues for a week or two. And then he was so good defensively, it really changed the way they were thinking about him. I know they're encouraged about the offseason work he's done, but it's not just about swing mechanics with him. If you watch closely in that postseason, approach is the problem. The way baseball works right now, there's so much information in the game. And if you make up your mind to swing at the pitch before it is thrown, that doesn't work. And that's really the way he went about it the entire postseason. And what was it, 4 for 45? That's scary. And the highest percentage of chases of pitches outside the strike zone of anybody in the sport in the postseason. And so, again, this is so much more than swing mechanics. This is about pitch recognition, controlling at bats, having a better feel for what he's trying to do at the plate and what the pitchers are trying to do with him. I mean, like, I understand what they're thinking, but I think he's hard to trust right now. And there's really no plan B.
You mentioned Bryce Harper will be there on opening day, which is a great thing. Can we expect big years, you think, out of both Harper and Trey Turner?
Trey Turner is such a superior player to the guy that Philadelphia saw for 4 months. And, I think much as in the way that Nick Castellanos settled in after he had a year to adjust to everything about Philadelphia, I think Trey will be the same. And Trey's a guy, he clearly chased too much. And this is a huge point of emphasis this spring, not just with him, but with the whole group. But, Trey Turner's chase rate on pitches outside the zone was, if I remember this right off the top of my head, 38% at swing rate. That's shocking because this was not his history before he got here. And like he's wired to swing. He's not wired to walk, but I think there are ways to do it. He's got a much superior baseball IQ to what we saw. And I just think comfort level is going to be huge with him. And hey, a full season of Bryce Harper, I don't think we fully comprehended what that could be. like I've always thought Bryce had a 50 homer season in him. And if you look at the healthy portion of Bryce Harper's year, which is basically the final third of the season, it would project out over a full season to close to 50 homers and an 1,100 OPS. And if he does that for 6 months, he's the MVP, right? So that's like those two guys that you just mentioned are a big reason to think that there is offensive upside, and they were already one of the best offenses in the sport.
Two final things, Jayson, both of them Hall of Fame related. You can guess what the second one is. But the first one, several former Phillies were on the 2024 Hall of Fame ballot. Billy Wagner just missed by 5 votes. A lot of Phils fans, though, debate whether Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley are worthy. Rollins still struggling to get a lot of support, but Utley had a pretty good debut on the ballot, 29%. Do Rollins and or Utley get in at some point?
I think Chase is going to get in. Last 30 years, the only player not tied to controversy who debuted at 28% or higher and who was not elected was Don Mattingly, who was literally 30 years ago. And I think if Don Mattingly were on the ballot today, he would get elected. So I think that portends good things for Chase. I think he's the perfect data-driven 2020s kind of candidate. I think we're out of necessity, we're starting to gravitate away from the old magic counting numbers. We don't have any 3,000 hit guys in the sport anymore. We don't have any 500 homer guys in the sport this year. It's amazing. And so that's going to force us to change the way we vote. And then in 2 years, a guy named Buster Posey comes on the ballot. Feels like a Hall of Famer, right? 1,500 career hits. Chase is in the 1,800s. And so there's always been kind of this blockade of hitters who don't have 2,000 hits getting elected. I think Buster Posey changes that narrative. So I think because of that, Chase gets in. It'll take him a while, but he will. And then the question is, does he elevate Jimmy Rollins along with him? I don't know the answer. I did notice something really interesting, Chet, after this election, in which Chase's total votes were twice Jimmy Rollins. You're showing it here. Do you think it's safe to say that voters who reveal their ballots before Election Day are kind of new school voters, and voters who don't reveal until after Election Day or don't reveal at all are more old school voters? I think it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so with those new school voters, Chase Utley almost had 3 times as many votes as Jimmy Rollins. And then with the old school voters, they were essentially tied. Jimmy had 1 more vote than him. And so that tells you Jimmy's a much more traditional candidate who's got a very unique case. No shortstop who ever lived has had his career with 2,400 hits, 400 steals, 200 homers, 800 extra base hits, MVP, 4 Gold Gloves, most hits in the history of his franchise. No shortstop who ever played baseball had that career. And so it'll be interesting to see how the conversation about Jimmy evolves. Chase is so data-driven, his case, and Jimmy's so old-school counting numbers-driven. I don't know. There's a case for both, but I think Chase fits where voting is going.
And Jayson, speaking of the Hall of Fame, you and I haven't talked since 2017, so I got to bring this up. 5 years ago, you got the call and received the J.G. Taylor Spink Award for your terrific baseball writing and reporting. Well-deserved. I know you've said you wanted to be a sports writer since you were 9 or 10 years old. So what did that honor mean to you?
It's really hard to put into words how overwhelming that whole experience was. My induction weekend, I shared it with Mariano Rivera and Mike Messina and Edgar Martinez and the late, great Roy Halladay. So got to know the Halladay family very well in that time. And like, I'm not them. I'm not. So I told Jim Thome he hit 600 more home runs than I hit. But that isn't how those guys treated me. They treated me like I was one of them, like I was a Hall of Famer. And it was amazing. The whole experience was just amazing. We had over 100 friends and family come all the way to Cooperstown, New York, just for me. So just that side of alone was overwhelming. But experiencing it in the way I did, like I was sitting in this room getting ready to go give my Hall of Fame speech. And the greatest players who ever lived were in this room. And also I was there. Okay. And so at one point I looked around and realized who was around me. And I thought, whoa, I'm having a little trouble breathing here. So I got up, kind of stood in the corner, looked around and thought, I need to take a walk. So the men's room was down the hall. So I started walking down the hall, and Jeff Bagwell starts walking with me. He says, how are you doing? So I said, oh, Jeff, I'm doing great. I'm looking around the room at who else is in the room and thinking, what am I doing here? He said, oh, yeah, I think the same thing. I said, wait a second. You feel the same way? You realize you're a Hall of Famer, right? He said, oh, yeah, I know, but I'm not a Hall of Famer the way those guys are Hall of Famers. Yeah. And so that really helped relax me. You know, other players think of the legends as legends. They have a hard time understanding that, like, they can now walk into that building in Cooperstown and like their plaque is up there. Like, you can walk into the Hall of Fame, head for the writer's wing, and there I am. Mm-hmm. So like, that was a crazy weekend. That winter, my wife and I went back and we went and looked, and there was like, they hadn't taken it down. I was still there. And we looked at each other and thought, wow, this really happened. And Chad, I've thought about this a lot. Like, I don't know what your concept of forever is. You know, I have a hard time grasping that. But people walking through the Hall of Fame in 50 years or 100 years or 500 years or however long there is a Hall of Fame, like, they're going to see me if they're interested in my profession. And that it's just staggering to try to imagine that happened to me in my actual life.
I love it. Follow Jayson on Twitter, aka X. Read him in The Athletic, and check out the Starkville podcast he does with Doug Glanville, one of The Athletic's many great podcasts on there. Jayson Stark, thank you, and enjoy the baseball season.
Chet, thank you for having me. You too.
Hey, Chet, there was so much good stuff there, but that ending, that last 2 minutes or whatever was just, you know, the whole pinch yourself kind of thing.
Yeah, wasn't that great?
But hey, I do say I agree with Jayson. We need an outfielder. We need some depth, and I'm 100% on board. We don't know if Marsh can be as good this year as he was last year or continue to get better. I sure hope so. I love how he plays. But if he doesn't and you end up platooning, you're short a guy. They need more players, more bats. They do.
Don't let us down, Dave.
That's right, Dave. Come on. Hey, what's going on with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia? Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgates.
Oh, man. Cavs Philly Tailgates. Love these guys. Cav has been cooking up a terrific catering business for more than 30 years. Known best for their tailgate parties, Cavs is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgates, Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest, and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs also does corporate events and other parties, you name it. As for upcoming events, well, there's a lot going on. Of course, March 28th, they'll be there before the Phillies home opener. That'll be a good tailgate. You know that. A couple of tailgates before WrestleMania in early April 6th and 7th. And then, hey, Kenny Chesney's coming to Philly June 8th. And so Bob will do a tailgate for that. Folks love their country music stars like Kenny Chesney, and we also love a good tailgate. So get all the details, order your tickets via phillytailgates.com. You can check the site. And if you have any questions, just email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. And I think you know by now, Bill and everybody else, that Cav also works with Vince and Company at Philly Sports Trips. They are the folks to use for all Eagles road games, and there'll be 8 of them this coming year, just like many years. Check out the schedule, what they have coming up as well. Of course, this weekend, there's that Stadium Series hockey trip, the Flyers up against the Devils, I believe it is. And spring training trips, a trip to Austin. Also, there is a trip to Nashville in April. You can get all the details on that and more, phillysportstrips.com.
Hey, didn't they already come out and say they're going to Brazil? I think
I would think so.
They're
yeah,
they're working on that Brazil.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, they're working on that Brazil trip right off the shoot. So
September 6th, the Eagles Open. It'll be here before you know it.
You know it. Well, we got a couple championships to win before then, though. Hey, speaking of that, Sixers made some noise at the trade deadline, adding scorer Buddy Hield and moving a handful of bench players to clear up cap space, which eventually they got 37-year-old Kyle Lowry. I don't know if that's a big help or not, but they did not do anything to upgrade the center position until Joel Embiid returns. With all that said and done, they've won 2 in a row.
Yeah, I really like Buddy Hield. I think he's fun to watch. The guy's not afraid to shoot. He's averaging like 23 a game in his first 3 starts. I think he fits in well with Maxey. Cameron Payne, the other guy they acquired, Cam Payne, which is a great name, by the way, he's good. DeAnthony Melton should be back, if not tonight, certainly by this weekend. Paul Reed's been playing okay in Embiid's absence. Now, look, if they can go 500 over these, final 15 or 16 games, whatever it is, that'll be good. That will, I think, keep them out of that play-in area, the 7 through 10. So that's what you want to do. Kyle Lowry being added to the team, he's 37. I don't expect a whole lot from him, but it'll be a nice way for him to presumably, finish his career in the area where he grew up and, played at Villanova. So good luck to Kyle. Maybe he can add some influence, some leadership to a team that could probably use it. So It's going to be an interesting final, few weeks of the season.
Well, I saw a quote from Kelly Oubre that I really liked. He had a nice game the other night in the last outing. He had 24 points, I believe it was. He said, we've all got to up our game. We got to be better. Tobias Harris was out the other night, along with Embiid. But Oubre's like, hey, here's where we are. We're pros. We got to step up the game, and we're going to do it. Everybody's got to play better. I love that attitude, and I'd be thrilled if they can actually be competitive and stay in the hunt here until Embiid gets back.
By the way, I misspoke. They have 29 games left. So what I meant to say was if they could win like 15 or so, half of the 29 games that remain, that would be great. It's going to be fun to watch.
PJ says 48-46 at the moment. So they're
in the heat without Jimmy Butler tonight.
Yep,
no Butler.
There you go. All right. Hey, Chet, did you want to sneak in a random Chet tonight? Did I hear?
Oh, what the heck? Why not? I could always sneak in a random Chet. So am I organized for it? Of course not, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. Bill, here's the deal. I was thinking last night about the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs with the word love in the title. It's Valentine's Day. That's why. And I think weird stuff sometimes. So yeah, many rock songs have the word love in the title. And I decided I would try to come up with some of my favorites. Now, here's the deal. There's all sorts of schmaltzy love songs, but I went with the rock angle. And look, these are just some of the honorable mention ones. I think that there's like 40 on this list that I came up with, using the internet with some help. I'm not going to read all of these. You can look at it. You can freeze this on your screen later. But these are the 40 or so songs that did not make the final cut. But a lot of good ones in there, certainly. Now, what I decided to do otherwise, though, was since today is the 14th, on Valentine's Day, I would come up with my top 14. And I'm not even going to read all of those to you, but that's a pretty good list right there. Top 5. What's so funny about Peace, Love, and Understanding? Number 5. Elvis Costello and Nick Lowe did that one. Whole Lot of Love, Led Zeppelin. 2 Zeppelin songs in there because I like the slower ballad All My Love also, which was number 10. Number 3, my favorite Van Halen song, Ain't Talking About Love. Can't argue with that one, folks. Radar Love, which is a great song, especially if you're driving. Man, what a great song to motor down the highway and hear that one. And number 1 on my list is Queen's Somebody to Love. That is my favorite Queen song. And, Bill, is also my very, very favorite Sing in the Shower song, too. I love the Queen song, Somebody to Love. And that's my list of great rock songs with the word love in the title.
Well, there you go. Happy Valentine's Day to whoever was listening to your love songs. Hey, one thing I want to throw in before we get to talk about, yeah. One off the topic thing before we get to talk about the Super Bowl. We talked about this last week. Caitlin Clark, I mentioned, for our female basketball player for the University of Iowa, will break the record tomorrow night on they put it on Peacock Thursday at 8:00. So it does get a national game. It's just on the pay-per-view. I thought it was going to be on the Big Ten Network, but it's not. Caitlin Clark needs 8 points to become the leading scorer in women's basketball history. So if you want to watch a little history, check it out. I'm planning on doing it.
I didn't know you were so fascinated by this whole Caitlin Clark thing.
Oh, I became fascinated when I just started seeing videos of her every night throwing in 35 points and shooting from the logo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she can shoot.
She is incredible. And she also just passed 1,000 assists in her career. She's just a tremendous player. I didn't know her before the year started. I didn't know her, never heard of her. But just in watching all the clips that just kept coming up, I kind of got intrigued. And anybody that can break an all-time record, it's worth me spending a little bit of time to watch it.
All right.
All right. So, hey, I think Boop and you and I all had the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, didn't we?
We did, and it didn't look good for much of the game, but they pulled it out in overtime. Real good game. I mean, the second half was really fun to watch, and then, of course, it went into overtime and went the full 15 minutes just about. So, yeah, it was a fun game.
Yeah, shout out to Andy Reid on winning his third Super Bowl. Definitely the first half was a little bit of a feeling each other out kind of thing. Second half and overtime was really good. But, hey, a couple things that we need to touch on and get your thoughts. I got 3 things listed here. Of course, the fourth, well, there's been 5 things now. Travis Kelce outbreak on the sidelines. I want to get your thoughts on that. The halftime show, the Taylor Swift effect leading to the most watched Super Bowl ever. And I think it is indeed a Taylor Swift effect that caused that. 4 is Steve Wilkes loses the Super Bowl, gets fired today as the defensive coordinator when, in my opinion, the 49ers defense played their tail off. Wilkes gets fired. Spagnuolo gets re-upped, contract extension for winning as the DC. And then, of course, the news today out of Kansas City with the last we heard before the show started, 22 people hurt in a gunfight out there.
All right, let's see what we can cover in 4 minutes.
You got it.
First thing, Andy Reid, I think he just put himself on the Mount Rushmore of coaches up there with, Shula and Belichick.
That wasn't even on my list, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, Tom Landry and Chuck Noll, there's 4. So he's one of the top 5, I think, greatest coaches of all time now with 3 Super Bowls and maybe more to come because he's not retiring. Second thing, the Travis Kelce bump into Reid, certainly uncalled for. Travis has apologized. He said that was bad. So, he's got a little temper. I think we've learned that. So he's got to learn to control that a little better. Halftime show, not my kind of music, but I'm not going to be one of these old guys, not naming any names, who says, oh, it sucked just because it's not their kind of music. As I said on Facebook, the production was great. There was like 4 costume changes in 15 minutes. Some good special guests. Alicia Keys is really, really good. Little John and some of these other people, I don't follow their music, but it was kind of nice to see them collaborating. It was well done. I like the little roller skates stuff. So again, not my kind of music, but otherwise I enjoyed it. So there. Next, Taylor Swift. Yeah, certainly a big plus for the ratings. 123.4 million, and probably a good 10 million. And that was thanks to, Taylor Swift alone. People just looking to see Taylor Swift on screen. And yes, she was on 7 or 8 times. So if you took the over, you won some money.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I'll toss out there on the Travis Kelce thing. I've gone back and forth about this in my head. When I was coaching at the high school level, you wouldn't have ever done anything near me like that.
Oh yeah.
But you're dealing with adults here in a high energy, and it's not a justification by any means, but Andy Reid looked like, hey, get out of the way. I got to make a play call here.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't seem one bit concerned about it. Bad look, absolutely bad look for Travis. Jayson called him out on their podcast today. They had a lengthy conversation about it. I think they both know bad look. Whether he should get penalized in any way, I don't think that'll happen. Halftime show for me, I can take it or leave it. I guess the thing that I probably didn't like the most about it is I'm not sure I understood any of the words. There was, there was music being played, but there wasn't. Now, from Usher, Alicia Keys is very good, and I do enjoy listening to her.
Hey, Usher can dance, man, and he can sing and dance while on roller skates. I can't do any of that.
Yeah, I was wondering if you and Jason Kelsey had your shirt off along with Usher at halftime, but I know Jason did, and I was wondering if you did the shirt throw.
Look at that heart, man. No, I kept my shirt on the whole game. I'm taking my heart off right now.
Yeah.
One other thing about the Eagles, though, because we have like a minute or two left, Hassan Reddick, he did not request the trade, but they gave him permission to do, seek a trade. I think they're just trying to work out the whole money situation, see, how many offers he'll get. Then the Eagles have to decide if they either want to pay him or what they can get in a trade. They're not going to get anything higher than a second round. They might not even get a third round. So, Howie's got some decisions to make.
He's under contract. He's under contract for another year.
He's under contract for one more year. Yeah. But, it's one of those things. You want more money because you had double-digit sacks the last 2 years, and they kind of got him at a bargain compared to other guys at his position with his numbers. So, I understand.
But his deal is still $40 million or something like that. He shouldn't be starving to death. I mean, I get it. They leak this stuff out. Agents do, clubs do, players do. So it may have been that Reddick himself didn't ask for a trade, but there's always them feelers going out just to see. It just kind of got blown up in the Philadelphia media and it took off. Bill,
do you have any thoughts about what next week's show might entail?
I thought you were going to tell us real quick, since we had a great guest tonight is Sam Carchidi and Jayson Stark. Couldn't do much better than that, but here we go.
Oh, we got another good one for you, Bill. It's one of our favorites, and it'll be the day after her birthday. It's her annual February visit, she does a semi-annual visit, but February is one of them. It's Dee Lynam. We're talking Sixers with Dee Lynam live next Wednesday. You know her from covering the Sixers for the last 25 years and her weekend work at 97.5 The Fanatic, the great Dee Lynam.
Always fun to talk. D, and hopefully the Sixers are playing good ball so we can talk about that as well.
Wrap it up, Bill.
Let's do it. Let's thank tonight's special guests, Sam Carchidi and Jayson Stark. Our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim, Chet, Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll join Philly Pressbox Radio next Wednesday, February 21st at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook, on our Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel, and listen on Google Podcasts as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. Happy Valentine's Day and high hopes, Philadelphia sports fans.
Happy trails to you till we meet